Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their October 20th, 2014 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5A, Police Department Monthly Report. And to give the information regarding this agenda item is Chief of Police Jeff Long.
We've started with a new format for our monthly report and tried to bring information in a more concise fashion and stick to a script each time through. So we'll start out with September news in the police department. We hired Officer Scott Frame, who joins us from Hennepin County, where he served 18 years. He was a canine. His dog sniffed for bombs. So although he was sworn in on the 8th, he was actually hired in September. He'll have 16 weeks of field training, and then hopefully he'll be out on his own. Maura Thomas joined us as the part-time administrative assistant. That was the last piece of our reorganization. She comes to us after a long history in sales of neuro brain stimulation medical equipment. So she has young children and is elected to scale back her work time and came to work for us. Also, we had the first day of school, in which we went out to each school, and I'm happy to report there was no major incidents. We got everyone to school safely and no car accidents. Notable cases in the month of September. We had explosive materials located in the 1600 block of Flagstaff Court. That involved a group of young people that were putting together some incendiary devices with no real ill intent, but nonetheless, the Bloomington Bomb Squad was called out, removed the materials, and we're still actively under investigation. We had a personal injury accident at 202nd in Iberia, where a woman had to be removed with the jaws of life, which is basically cutting through the car to get her out due to the damage to the driver's side. She had a possible broken hip and femur. We had 2 missing children that gave a variety of people a good scare. They ended up wandering away from their grandma about 2 miles, in which a citizen happened to notice these 2 young people wandering and approached them. But after a helicopter and police reserves and fire department, we were able to reunite them with their grandma. We had a death by natural cause. A 58-year-old did not show up for work and was located dead in the home from natural causes. Mental health continues to challenge our resources. This particular month, we had 1 suicide attempt, 1 suicide threat, 5 attempts, and 3 successes. One was a 16-year-old male that used a gun and died of a gunshot wound. We had a 38-year-old female ingest a number of prescription medications and passed away. We suspect that was also suicide. And we had a hanging in the 18,000 block of Highview. Part 1 crimes year to date are pretty consistent with what they've been in the past. These are the violent crimes. Nothing out of the ordinary there. You can just take a look at those numbers. Pretty consistent with 2013. Property crimes year to date. Some numbers are up, some are down. Property damage is up. Vehicle theft is up. Some of the thefts vary, over 500, under 500, but for the most part, those numbers are staying, in the big scheme of things, pretty consistent with the numbers from 2013. Citizen responsiveness, again, you can take a look at this. Medical emergencies, so forth are pretty consistent. We're not seeing a huge varying of calls, and so that's good. Overall, the call load is up from last year by about 300 calls. Traffic enforcement, we continue to provide increased traffic enforcement. 290 additional stops were made this September over last September. Total stops for the year at this point, or at the end of September, are a little over 6,000, or at the end of 7,800 for 2014. The numbers should be swaying in the ways we're seeing them. Traffic crashes should be going down, not going up. That tells you that there is still some traffic concerns that need to be addressed. Those numbers should not be climbing when you're increasing traffic stops the number like we are. Speeding citations are up, traffic stops are up, and DUIs are up. So we're making more arrests, we're making more stops, and traffic crashes are continuing, which tells me that we need to continue to increase that traffic enforcement and educate people. One of the things I want to emphasize to people, speeding citations aren't going through the roof, so we're not just stopping people handing out tickets. We are trying to educate the public and get them to follow the rules. We're changing the look and the way we communicate with the public. We're trying to develop more of a brand from the police department that will be consistent. It's a couple of varying things right there. Breezes, we started with a new format to have more informative articles, a more professional look, and try to educate the public on important topics that we want to get information out on. For those of you that have been reading the new edition of Breezes, I would be curious on your input. We are striving to improve that. We are making daily updates or every other day to Facebook, trying to put out what we call the police blotter, trying to show the public what's going on. We also have the map on our website. We also have Twitter. But each Facebook communication that we put out gets between 400 and 1,000 views, and then those also get shared. So it's a good way for us to get information out and let the public know what's going on in the community. And finally, our mission statement. It's a good time to point out we're going to be reviewing that and try to get it to be more consistent with what we're doing right now. Although these are all important things, the face of police work is changing and what we do is changing, and we're going to be updating that mission statement over the next 12 months to be more consistent with what we're doing.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5B, Parks and Recreation Department Monthly Report. And to provide the background information regarding this agenda item is Parks and Recreation Director Brett Altergott.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is the September 2014 Park and Recreation Report. The first slide, starting at the Arts Center, the Friends of the Lakeville Area Arts Center hosted the annual Art Festival on September 20th and 21st. This year's attendance was estimated at over 10,000. They figured 6,000 on day one, a little over 4,000 on day two. So weather cooperated, everything was perfect. The rain came after the day one was complete. We also had two performances at the Arts Center this last month. The first one, in the company of legends, 145 attended two performances of that play. It was about an East Coast reporter that was sent out west to dig up dirt on the most famous man in America, Buffalo Bill. Along the way, Buffalo Bill's friends Wyatt Earp and Bart Masterson showed up to set the record straight. So again, that was a very well done play, and they've toured around the Midwest and have had very good success. And then we had 390 attend three performances of Tippecanoe and Tyler II, which is a musical that revolved around the presidential campaign of 1840 between William Henry Harrison and Martin Van Buren. Moving on to park maintenance, what you see in here is after the King Park Playground went in, we had to restore the entire area around there. You see some grading that took place, soil prep in the upper left. On the bottom, again, is a good look. What you'll see off in the distance, we put 3 substantial trees in there to give additional shade in that area. So when that grass comes in next year, imagine that'll be a great area for patrons to sit. And then we did hydro seed the area versus sod. It's more cost effective for us to do that. Also, over the course of the last month, we had a contractor fog seal over 22 miles of trail. If you remember, fog sealing is used to renew the asphalt surfaces, to seal small cracks and surface voids, and then again, that extends the life of the surface and also reduces the amount of costly maintenance repairs to that asphalt. So you'll see 2 photos of that, and then we did all of our herbicide and broadleaf applications over the month as well, and we did those in-house. Recreation, on September 13th, we hosted the 24th annual Who Done It hike. We had over 150 participants who played Sherlock Holmes by collecting clues, gathering information, solving mysteries while hiking the beautiful trails at Ritter Farm Park. So it's been going on again for a number of years and very successful, and we're very proud of that program. Also, we have bird banding, which is, again, it's part of a research project in the migration patterns of birds. We had 15 participants this year. They helped capture, band, and release the birds. And this is a great opportunity for not only kids, but families to come out and learn about birding. And again, that's held at Ritter Farm, and that's a free program because it's part of a research project. In the photo you'll see, we also had fall tennis. We had 15 participants in fall tennis. And Tiny Tots turf soccer continued to be popular. at 57 participants, which is 7 over our maximum. So we were able to, again, clear our waiting list and get more kids in that Tiny Tot Turf Soccer, which was Sunday nights at Mashad Park the whole month of September. And staff is currently going through the interview process for warming house attendants. And we are recruiting volunteers. If you remember, coming up this Saturday is a Haunted Forest, and we are also seeking volunteers for Santa's Secret Store. So to volunteer for one of these events, please contact the Park and Recreation Department at 985-4600. At the Heritage Center, the big fundraiser last month was the Heritage Center Golf Classic, which was held at Crystal Lake, and that was on September 16th. We had 84 golfers that took part in this year's outing, and the event raised over $12,600. So I want to thank the golf committee, which was chaired by Wally Potter, for all their hard work over the course of the last year in that planning. Wellness Day was held on September 12th. We had over 100 participants in a lifeline screening and flu shots at the Heritage Center. In other news, 15 people enjoyed a Stillwater trolley tour and lunch on September 18th. Approximately 100 seniors attended the Knights of Columbus lasagna dinner held on September 25th. So we had a busy month there just with programs. And we'll move on to other things they're doing for fundraising. The Metro dining cards are on sale at the Heritage Center and City Hall, 2-for-1 dining cards. For more information on that, give us a call again at the Park and Rec office. We'll be glad to help you out. Also at the Heritage Center, again, as part of our report, we want to take a look at a monthly basis at our membership and revenues coming in. We're at 956 members year to date. Again, remember we end our year on April 30th. The breakdown is in front of you, and our current revenue is $18,694 to date. And that's just off our membership. So you can see the majority of them, vast majority are residents, and then single non-residents. Also wanted to take a look at where we are in our fundraising goals. We have $35,358 remaining, but that's before the auction. This is after the golf outing and before the auction completes, and that's coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We'll have our auction numbers, and then we have a couple of smaller fundraisers to wrap out the year. Mm-hmm. And so we're very hopeful. We're going to get very, very close this year, and we're working on some other avenues to possibly close that out this year. So I'll keep the council informed as we move forward. Looking at our punch cards, $20 $10 in September, $9 $20. And I think also was highlighted in your weekly report, I believe 2 weeks ago, we looked at our rental income. So January through September, we've done a little over $20,000. And we gave a breakdown a little bit further from our residents is over half of that. And I think that's important to see that over $10,000, getting close to $11,000 is off our residents, but equally important, we do have people from the area coming in and balancing it out. So those are some good numbers to be reporting. As I mentioned, we do have some upcoming events. We have the online auction, which wraps up tomorrow. So get your last minute bids in, please. It goes towards a great cause. And on October 25th, we have the Haunted Forest from 5:30 to 8:30 at Steve Mashad Park. So that'll have the Haunted Trail. We'll have hay rides. We'll have popcorn, hot chocolate, trick-or-treating for the kids on the Land of Amazement. So, and again, to volunteer for that, please give our office a call. And with that, I will take any questions that you may have.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5C, Fire Department Quarterly Report. And to provide some information regarding this agenda item is Fire Chief Mike Meyer.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'd like to present the third quarter report for the fire department, and I'll start with our mission statement. The Lakeville Fire Department is dedicated to serving the community through the protection of lives and property by providing public safety education and a professional emergency response. Sticking with our mission statement, we'll start with fire inspections for the third quarter. We had 97 commercial inspections completed, 2 daycare inspections, and then 5 burn permits issued. A couple of the pictures I'll draw your attention to. The top left picture, barbecue grill that's inside of a building. Not that that's unusual. A lot of people want to bring them inside so they don't get stolen, but the things that you find inside as far as the lighter fluid to start your charcoal, and then the cigarette butt in there as your place to deposit your cigarettes is probably not a very good option, and that's something when we do inspections that we want to point that out and educate the the commercial business or the people that have that in there. The bottom right picture that you see with the fire pit on the patio, we want everybody to enjoy a fire outside if that's what they're choosing to do, but the concern with this fire ring is the proximity to the house, and this is actually a townhome. So not only if that fire, with something bad were to happen, that's going to affect not only the resident, but multiple residents there. Fire prevention visits. We completed 19 station tours, 13 school visits for this quarter. In August, we also participated with the Parks Department and the Police Department at the Little Tyke Safety Camp and Safety Camp. And then we were also at the ECF Safety Fair that they had. Some pictures that were missing from that is we actually had it inside where we talked with not only the kids, but with the adults that were there. So we went through our fire extinguisher trainer with them, did a multiple different things of fire safety with the adults that were there also. Thinking back into July when it was a little bit warmer, we had our annual waffle breakfast where we served 1,746. Quite a few people still, and then in the afternoon we were part of the Panaprog Parade. In August, we were with the police department out on Night to Unite, where we visited all 4 stations. We're out and visited 68 parties throughout the community. The one thing I always like to say when the police car shows up is it's your one opportunity to get your kids in the back of a squad car where they're not in trouble. The top left picture is Sparky made a visit to the Heritage Center when we did the kickoff for Night to Unite. Looking at our incidents for the third quarter, if you look at July 8th, August 3rd, and August 17th, all 3 of those fires have something in common, and that involves the kitchen, which is still our #1 place where we have fires in homes, and that's the kitchen fires. The July 8th fire had a fire in the oven, which is a great place to have it. But the issue here is that the person opened the oven door trying to put out the fire and then left it open. It spread from the oven, and if you look at the picture right below it, into the cabinets above it. So fortunately, it didn't extend very far, but the one thing to remind residents, if they do have an oven fire, whether you're doing the self-clean stuff, leave the oven door closed. The oven's designed to take that heat, and it will contain it in there. August 3rd, this was a incident that was left food unattended on the stove that resulted in the kitchen being burnt. Probably about 50% of the mobile home residents had to move out until we could do repairs. The August 17th fire is unattended cooking, the fry pan on the left that you see on the far right upper picture, which extended up to the microwave, melted the bottom of the microwave, and blackened the cabinets on top. And to give you a different picture, on August 31st, we responded to Air Lake Airport on a plane crash. It was a single pilot. He was transported with head injuries from the canopy for when he impacted the ground. Looking at our incident numbers for the third quarter, we ended with 234 calls of service, pretty in line with our previous 2 years. Looking at it from a monthly perspective, you can see we're pretty steady. September, we saw a slight increase of 71 calls. Year to date, we are ahead compared to the past 2 years with 670 calls to date. And a breakout of those call types. False alarms, medical assist, good intent calls, vehicle accidents are still our four main driving call types that we respond to. I did a little research, looked back at false alarms, and we've been pretty consistent on that 20% range. It bounces between 18 and 23% on average for the past 3 years. And to end with, LFD supports our families. Recently we had 2 family members that were diagnosed with cancer. One was breast cancer. The other was a daughter of one of the firefighters has Hodgkin's non-lymphoma. So what the stations proposed is to do a little fundraising event for those families. We did a solidarity head shave. So the far left picture is actually Amanda getting her head shaved prior to her treatments, and the middle picture is Gail, who has breast cancer, was shaving one of our firefighters' heads, Melissa Schmidt from Station 3, and then we took a group picture at the end with everybody with their shaved heads. And obviously there's some kids in there that got involved with it, and we had quite a few neighbors that came around from Station 2 that did the same. That concludes my third quarter report. We'd like to thank you for your dedication and support of the Lakeville Fire Department, and I'll stand for any questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 7, public hearing on the modification of Air Lake Redevelopment Project Number 1. And to give the background information regarding this agenda item is Community and Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
Mayor and members of the council, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to talk about this project. Second time in one night, and I made notes of what I forgot to say the first time. Hopefully I'll pick it up this time. So Mr. Gintner did a nice job, and it's always better to have the company representatives talk about the company because they can do a much better job than I. But this is an exciting project we've been working on for a couple months now, and for maybe more for the viewing audience and people here in attendance tonight. But the Fulford Warehouse, which is where BTD is currently leasing space and is proposing to do this major expansion, is just along the east side of Cedar Avenue, north of the intersection of Cedar and County Road 70, which is right here, and just south of the intersection of Cedar and County Road 50. And what is allowing this to take place is a acquisition of additional property by the Fulford Group from Air Lake Development, which owned the property immediately adjacent to this, and they're adding approximately, Mr. Fulford's adding approximately 26 acres, of which about half of it's going to be used for this project. And then the good news is he's got another 13 acres for another project that could go next door to this building at some point, and there's even some preliminary discussions taking place on that. So this is a quality project with a quality company, as was demonstrated by Mr. Gintner, and I am pleased to say that I've been talking with and dealing with BTD since they came here in 2005, and it's exciting to see the growth that the company is occurring and realizing. The one thing that I didn't mention earlier is that this project will probably result in being the largest single building in Air Lake Industrial Park once it's done. It'll be over 500,000 square feet. And it's a big building now, but 500,000 square feet, we don't have a single building that large in the industrial park right now. And it, as I indicated, the county assessor's estimate of value upon completion is between 12.6 and 14.1 million. And I should point out that the existing building that is there today, which is valued at approximately 6.2 million, will stay on the tax roll. That's not going to be part of the tax increment financing district. So the taxes that are paid on the existing building and have for the last 30 years will continue to go to the taxing jurisdictions, the city and the county and the school district. I should say, in full disclosure, when the original Toro, and was known as the Toro Warehouse, was built in 1984, it was in the TIF district for 9 years, but has since been on the tax rolls for the last 20, and will continue to be on the tax rolls for the next 20 to 30 years with improvements. The addition and the portion of the project that's going to be started yet this fall is a two-story office addition to the front of the existing building, and improvements to the parking areas that serve that building. There's going to be many more employees in this building than there ever has been, with BTD continuing to increase their presence, and hence the need for actually, and what it's nice to see, there's more employee parking on this site than there is truck parking on the site, because of the number of people that they're going to not only have initially, 300 within the next 2 years, over 300 employees, but as Mr. Gintner said, continued growth in years beyond that. The TIF district is being requested to pay for some of the eligible TIF eligible project costs, which are estimated to be over $4 million. Obviously, there's not sufficient TIF to cover all that cost, but that's about $2.5 million of site improvements. As I mentioned earlier, the sewer has to come from south of the creek and be extended to serve the eastern half of the site. Considerable stormwater improvements need to be made for both the new expansion as well as the existing building, which was built prior to having stormwater requirements in place. And we're all about managing stormwater effectively, as we are adjacent to the DNR designated trout stream. Just to the south. Considerable parking and other infrastructure, and just the grading alone of a site to accommodate a 200,000 square foot building is significant. So that's where the public eligible costs come in. This project is tentatively scheduled to be considered by the Planning Commission on November 6th, and they'll be considering a rezoning, a comprehensive plan amendment, and a preliminary plat for to accommodate the expansion. The based on the estimated new market value of 12.6 to 14.1 million for the building, it's estimated to generate, and that was included in the TIF plan document attached in your packets, a not to exceed amount of just over $1 million, $1,077,000. And as I indicated in the HRA meeting presentation, we'll be coming back to the council and the HRA to approve the contract for private development, which is going to spell out the terms and conditions of the city's responsibilities relative to this project as well as BTD. And that will basically memorialize, but this puts, the TIF district being considered tonight puts in place the mechanism by which we can do a tax increment financing project. I should also allude to that while this has been reviewed by the EDC at both on August 26th and October 7th, and council work session on the 15th of September, we're required under Minnesota statutes to notify the school district and the county in which any proposed tax increment district is located. And this happens to be actually in the portion of Lakeville that's in Farmington School District, or ISD 192. They were provided a notice, as was Dakota County. And that notice has to be delivered 30 days prior to the public hearing. So they've had the information on this project for a little over a month now. Included in your packet is I should back up. We have not heard and did not get any comments or feedback from ISD 192. We did, however, were provided, or actually we went and obtained a copy of the resolution that the county board adopted relative to this project. And in my 17 plus years of working on economic development projects in Dakota County, not all of which here, but the same issue came up when I worked in a neighboring community of Farmington. Dakota County has never supported the use of tax increment financing for economic development TIF districts. Their policy references housing TIF districts, it references redevelopment TIF districts, and it also references renovation and renewal districts. But it's specifically silent to to economic development districts, which are typically the type of TIF projects you do when you're developing a manufacturing or warehouse facility on a greenfield type site where there aren't existing buildings or improvements that are being removed as part of the project. And so, consistent with their practice, the county board has, at their last meeting, adopted the resolution indicating that that this type of tax increment district is not consistent with the county's TIF policy. Not to be confused with the city's TIF policy, because it is consistent with ours. So that is somewhat unfortunate, in my opinion, that's the position. It's been a long-held position of the county, but the bottom line is it doesn't have any impact on the city's decision and the city's action relative to this. And it's a review and comment only. The county has no legal standing in the approval or denial of a tax increment financing district in the city. So that being said, everything hopefully was included in your packet, and the resolution that's attached to in your packet for this item would be the final resolution that actually creates the tax increment financing district, and then that to be followed up with a contract for private development between this and business subsidy agreement between the city and BTD coming forward here in the next either November or early December. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Item number 7 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 8, public hearing on the 2015 street reconstruction project. And to begin a series of presentations, here's Public Works Director Chris Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My pleasure to be here in front of you this evening talking about a 2015 street reconstruction project, which is City Improvement Project 15-02. This is the project location. The council is aware of this from a previous many previous work sessions that we've talked about this. But as you can see, the area is bound by Cedar Avenue on the east side of the project, Highview Avenue on the west. You see Griffin Trail, 165th Street, that kind of runs through the middle, as well as the green area is the Foxborough Park area. With that, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll introduce Ms. Monica Heil, our Operations and Maintenance Engineer for the City of Lakeville, and she is also the project manager for this project. Ms. Heil?
Thank you, Mr. Petrie, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We have for you tonight an updated estimate on the project cost for the 2015 street reconstruction project. This was the estimate prepared with the feasibility report, and it is $23,420,180. Of that, approximately $9.8 million is proposed to be funded by city capital improvement plan dollars. $7.2 million approximately would be funded using city utility funds. A large portion of that would fund the water main replacement within the area, as well as some sanitary sewer repairs and I&I treatments. The remaining $6.379 million would be funded by special assessments from the benefiting properties. And as we talk about the project area, we've discussed a lot the existing conditions and the soils that were found in the area. One of the driving factors in replacing the water main in the project area is the corrosive nature of the soils. We've had an extensive break history within the 2015 street reconstruction project. In fact, since we began recording information in 1987, we've had 45 breaks. A number of the breaks have been the result of bolts that have over time corroded at hydrants and valves. Right there, what you see is a picture of a recent water main break. It happened about 3 weeks ago on Grinnell. That was the result of corrosion. We've had a number of these instances, and because of the break history in the area, and then also the soils testing that was completed, and now knowing that the soils within the project area are all moderately to severely corrosive, we are proposing to replace all of the water main within the project area, including all hydrants and water services to private properties up to the water shutoff locations. In addition, we would be reconstructing all of the streets within the project area. Complete reconstruction would include removement of the pavement surface, complete curb and gutter replacement, as well as spot sidewalk replacement in the project area. Also based on the findings and the recommendations contained within the geotechnical report, we are proposing to increase the street section to increase the longevity of the streets and also accommodate the loading on the streets. The soils that we've discovered within this project area happen to be the worst that we've seen thus far. In many areas, the street sections do not meet current design standards. We would be proposing to replace a large section of what is now clay material under the street section with a combination of both sand and also reclaimed aggregate material from the project area. And when we talked about this at a work session a few weeks back, we talked about the recommendations in the soils report, and that the geotechnical engineers had proposed 2 feet of sand with 6 inches of Class 5 aggregate or recycled aggregate on top of that. We looked at the flexible pavement designs, the availability of existing materials on site, and we put together an estimate that reflects 18 inches of sand and 8 inches of recycled material. That brought down the project costs about $1 million being able to do that. If we find additional material on site that we can reuse, we will reuse it wherever feasible, but a large portion of that will need to be determined in the field with testing during construction. We also propose significant drainage improvements to the project area. Storm sewer enhancements are proposed throughout the project area, and it is proposed to install drain tile along both sides of all streets within the project. There are some streets that have drain tile located on one side or portions of the street right now, but after having a neighborhood meeting back in June and speaking to a number of residents, there are a number of people out there that are desiring additional drain tile services or their first drain tile service to accommodate some of the conditions that they have in their yards. So as a part of this project, we will install drain tile. What you see right there is a picture of drain tile that's going in along Garcia Way as we speak this week. It will be installed along the back side of the curb, and services would be stubbed to each property, and in some instances, if residents request it, multiple services to address drainage issues that they may have on their private property. We also talked about potential traffic calming improvements along Griffin Trail. Griffin Trail is identified as a collector roadway by the city's transportation plan. We've had numerous concerns voiced by residents about vehicle speeds along Griffin Trail, and that portion of the project that is proposed to be reconstructed in 2015, which is between Cedar Avenue and Griffin Trail, we are looking at the introduction of traffic calming bump outs, such as what was installed along Flagstaff Avenue as a part of the project. As you see, Griffin Trail as it exists today is very wide, very flat in this particular area of the project. We've posted some speed limit signage there and also tried to call attention to it, but in instances that we've recorded, there are vehicles that travel in excess. And so similar to what was done along Flagstaff Avenue, we would look at opportunities to install bump outs where we would narrow the travel lanes to seek a reduction in vehicle speeds, which has been successful in many other applications. When we talk about the project now and the fact that all of the water main needs to be replaced, that the street sections need to be enhanced in order to support the loading and extend the life of the pavement, it becomes very obvious that construction is going to need to be phased in order to complete all of this work. And as a part of the feasibility report, we looked at breaking up the project into two contracts and two construction seasons in order to get the project done in a timely fashion and also encourage work by a number of local contractors in the area that might not otherwise be able to bid on a project that was $23 million in cost. And so what you see there is a division of project areas by contract and by year. South of Griffin Trail, we've identified two project areas in the blue and the purple colors. We would propose to complete the water main replacement and the street reconstruction within the blue area under one contract in the year 2015. That includes the Foxborough area and some of the other areas where we've had the most significant and recurring water main breaks, and we'd take care of that in 2015. Under a separate contract, contract number 2, we would also propose to replace all of the water main and reconstruct the streets within the area north of Griffin Trail that is showing in the orange. That would be done potentially by a different contractor, or if one contractor was feeling they could complete all the work in a single construction season, they could bid on the same project. But we would have two concurrent projects running at the same time, working to replace all of the water main and the streets. The second part of that would be having the portions in purple and red completed in 2016. We would state within each of the contract documents that the contractors had substantial completion dates to complete phase 1, or those areas in blue and orange, within 2015, and then would need to return to complete the areas in purple and red in 2016. That does provide some relief to residents geographically, so that construction is not going on in their neighborhood all the time for those 2 years by dividing up the projects and specifying designated areas for construction in any given construction season. But in doing this, we feel we've recommended a scope of work that could be reasonably completed during a winter construction season, or a construction season in Minnesota where you have 6 months of winter. And that is where we came up with this. Generally speaking, the costs are roughly divided evenly between each of the project areas. I will say the area south of Griffin Trail is a little larger in terms of mileage of streets and water main replacement, but Griffin seemed a very logical bisector geographically in terms of dividing up the project. When we look at the assessments for the project, the estimated assessments are $81.16 per single family unit. The city's assessment policy is to assess those costs associated with the street and storm sewer improvements to the benefiting property owners, 40% of those costs. The remaining 60% are funded by general CIP dollars. The city's assessment policy also dictates that townhomes or duplexes are assessed 1/2 a single-family unit, or in this case, about $4,058 per townhome or duplex unit. When we talk about the project and the schedule, we are here today to present the feasibility report to the council to answer your questions and also set a public hearing date. If the council moves forward with that, we'd hold the public hearing on November 17th. Over the winter, design the project, open bids on March 6th, and declare those costs to the council later that month. The assessment hearing would be scheduled for April 6th of 2015. We'd award the contract, and construction will begin within the first 2 phases of the project. Contract 1 in the Foxborough area south of Griffin Trail, and Contract 2 on the west and north of Griffin Trail. Construction would start in 2015 and not be completed until November of 2016 within phase 2 of each of the contracts. So it would be an ongoing project over the course of 2 years in order to complete all the work. So with that, the council would look to accept the feasibility report and set a public hearing date of November 17th, and we'd also be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their October 20th, 2014 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up.
You've been invited to take the Lakeville Liquors Food Drive Challenge. During the month of October, we're asking you to donate $20 or 20 pounds in support of our local food shelves, the Open Door and 360 communities. You could bring in 20 pounds of canned goods, or 20 pounds of baking items. How about 20 pounds of paper products? Or make it easy on yourself and just drop off $20 and we can buy over 60 pounds of products with your cash donation. So team up with Lakeville Liquors and support our local food shelves. Are you up for the challenge?